Hello, namaste everyone. In this video, we're going to talk about the menstrual cycle. First of all, you should know the definition of menstrual cycle. This is the cyclic changes in the uterus of the reproductive age group. This occurs in every month in the female. This is of a period of about 28 days. 28 days, and this is the changes or period between the 2 points of the starting of the bleeding. And here there is a two terms, that is the menarche and menopause. You should know about this menarche. Menarche is the first menstruation, and this occurs at the age of 12 years. And this is the menopause. Menopause means the cessation or the stoppage of the menstruation, and this occurs at the age of 40 to 45 years of age. After this age, 45 to 50 years of age, woman cannot produce the ovum, thus cannot reproduce the baby. So this is the menarche and this is the menopause. Now let's discuss about the phases of menstruation cycle. There are two phases of menstruation cycles. This we can divide into the two phases. First is pre-ovulatory phase, and second is post-ovulatory phase. Now the pre-ovulatory phase. This phase is again divided into two phases. First is bleeding phase. This is for about 1 to 4 day approximately. This is of a period of 4 days. This bleeding phase is up to the 4 days. After that, there is a proliferative phase. Proliferative phase. This is up to the first 4 days is bleeding phase, and after that 5th to 14th days, approximately 10 days. This is the proliferative phase. And now post ovulatory phase. This is known as the secretory phase. This is also known as the secretory phase, and this is up to the 14 days. So total of 28 days, 4 days, 10 days and 14 days. Total of 28 days of menstrual cycle. Now in the bleeding phase, only bleeding occurs, and in the proliferative phase, ovum, at the last of this proliferative phase, ovum comes out, and in the secretory phase, the different hormones secretes through it. Now let's discuss one by one these all three phases: this bleeding phase, proliferative phase and the secretory phase. First we will discuss about the proliferative phase. Proliferative phase. Now let's discuss about the proliferative phase. This phase is of time period, every duration is about 10 days, and starts after the cessation of bleeding. After the bleeding phase, this phase starts now. So after the cessation of bleeding, this proliferative phase starts. So it starts after cessation of bleeding. And in this phase endometrium heals and becomes the normal, and the thickness of endometrium increases. And glands increases. Size of gland increases. Gland size increases. Now the lining of glands become the columnar. Here the lining of glands become columnar, and stroma becomes the compact. Now this stroma is divided into 3 parts, that is the stratum, stratum compactum, second is stratum spongiosum, and third is stratum bacilli. And the stroma divided into these three parts. So in the during the shedding of endometrium, these two parts, stratum compactum and stratum spongium, are shed off from the endometrium during the shedding of endometrium shed at the last of proliferative phase. So differentiating into these three part, in this the arteries becomes the dilate, arteries become dilate, and during this phase this is only the follicles are developed under the control of estrogen. Estrogen is the main hormone. Estrogen controls the development of follicle. So during this phase, proliferative phase, mainly the estrogen controls the development of follicles developed here, and the ovulation occurs in this phase. Ovulation occurs and the corpus luteum starts formation after due to the LH cells. Here the estrogen helps to become the helps to mature the follicles, and after the follicles become the mature, the ovum gets out of these follicles at the end of this proliferative phase at the 14th day of menstruation, ovulation. You cannot tell at the 14th day, but before 14 day of or at the 14th day of menstruations, ovulation occurs. So if there is a problem given that that menstruation cycle period may varies from the woman to woman. Menstruation cycle period, if the menstruation cycle is a 28 days cycle, there is a menstrual cycle, then the ovulation occurs at which day? Then you have to subtract 28 minus 14 from the 28 to get the day of ovulation, that is 14th day. So the 14th day is the day of ovulation. Now suppose if there is given the menstruation cycle period is of the 32 days cycle is 32 days. So at which day the ovulation takes place? So the ovulation takes place at the 32 minus 14. You have to subtract the given cycle period, so you can get the day of ovulation. In this you can get the 18th. So 18th day of menstruation you can get the day of ovulation. In this you can calculate the day of ovulation, at which day the ovulation takes place. And this is all about the proliferative phase. Now let's discuss about the secretory phase. Secretory phase, and this is also the post-ovulatory phase, because the ovulation takes place at the end of a proliferative phase. So this is also known as the post-ovulatory phase. Now let's discuss about this secretory phase. It starts after the ovulation and the last for the next bleeding. It starts after ovulation and last for next bleeding. And the average duration of this phase is about 14 days. And here also the endometrium becomes a thick endometrium. This is the endometrium. What is the endometrium? Endometrium is the muscles of the uterus. Okay, so this endometrium becomes the thick and the glands becomes the cubital. In the proliferative phase, glands were of columnar, so here the gland becomes the cuboidal, and then after that arteries becomes the other torus and the spiral, so-called spiral arteries. There is a spiral arteries, and you should know that the secretory phase is under the control of the main hormone is progesterone. This is the progesterone. Progesterone is the main hormone that controls this phase, secretory phase, and this is secreted, progesterone is secreted by the corpus luteum. Now let's understand what is the corpus luteum. Suppose this is the ovum. Okay, this is the ovum and this is the cell. After the ovum comes out from this follicles, follicles, then this remaining part converted to the corpus luteum, and this secrete the progesterone hormone, and this progesterone hormone controls this secretory phase. And now let's discuss about the phases of the last phase, that is the bleeding phase. It is a bleeding phase. It lasts for about 4 days, and see, in the proliferative phase ovulation takes place. Okay, and after the ovulation there is a secretory phase, and if the fertilization does not occur during the secretory phase, then the corpus luteum that was formed in the secretory phase, it gets degenerate and the uterine mucosa breaks down and hemorrhage occurs due to the lack of estrogen and the progesterone, and that is known as the menstrual blood. So see, if fertilization does not occur, corpus luteum degenerates, and uterine mucosa, this uterus mucosa breaks down and hemorrhage occurs due to lack of estrogen and progesterone, because the corpus luteum produce the estrogen and the progesterone. And here the superficial part, that is superficial part, that is the stratum compactum and stratum spongiosum are shade off, and the endometrium thickness decreases. Thickness of endometrium decreases. So this is all about the menstrual cycle. For the first 4 days there occurs the bleeding phase, and after that proliferative phase. In the proliferative phase, ovum become the mature and the ovulation takes place at the last of the proliferative phase. And the secretory phase, in the secretory phase the corpus luteum is formed and the progesterone hormone is secreted. So this is all about the menstrual cycle. And the bleeding phase, if the fertilization does not occur, the corpus luteum, the form degenerates and the uterine mucosa breaks down and the hemorrhage occurs due to the lack of estrogen and the progesterone, and that is called the menstrual blood. And the menstrual blood, in the menstrual blood there is a uterine mucosa, blood, and then ovum. These all are in the menstrual blood. And if there is fertilization occurs, then there will be the stoppage of the menstrual cycle, because the corpus luteum does not get degenerates and continues to secrete the estrogen and progesterone. So these all are about the menstrual cycles. Now let's know something about the menstrual blood. Menstrual blood contains about 30 to 40 ml of the blood, and it also contains the leukocytes, that is WBC, leukocytes on fertilized ovum, and then the mucus. These all are found in the menstrual blood. Thank you.